Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. Today we're going to move on with short rhapsodies, and this actually had a tie in the poll. We had Iron Maiden's Infinite Dreams, and we had a song from Yes. It was actually a very lengthy title. I have a dice plugin in Discord. I rolled some dice, and Iron Maiden ended up winning. So that's what we're going to be checking out today. Actually, I would have been happy either way. I've been extremely enthused with some of the Yes songs we've checked out. But Yes is also a band we've had 2 songs on, and we've never checked out Maiden. And I went and looked it up, and I only know one song from them, which is Run to the Hills. So, yeah, let's check out some more Maiden. Pretty excited about to see what's going on here. Let's get to it. This is the 2015 remaster. It is the one that is on their official YouTube page. I thought about using one of their older ones, maybe an original master, but I couldn't find one that was from their stuff officially, so I can't guarantee any quality. So I went with one where I would feel safe knowing that it's high quality stuff. All right, let's get to it. I like that bass line going on behind the guitar work. The choir does a good job of expanding out the sound a little bit.
Infinite dreams, I can't deny them. Infinity is hard to comprehend. I could hear those screams, even in my wildest dreams.
Really groovy line right here. That little double snare hit leading into starting a beat early in the melody line. That bass line is gorgeous. Lots of power. Really commanding this song with the vocals. Nice synergized run between all those instruments doing those 8 notes.
It's getting to me, so scared to sleep, but scared to wake now. It's too deep.
16's not 8. A subtle key change there. You tell me you're an unbeliever, spiritualist, only I'm neither. Would you like to know the truth of what's out there to have the proof? I find that just which side you're on. Where would you end? In heaven or in hell? Bit of an epic feel to it. Bassline still tearing it up back there. Alright. Doing a bit of a march feel back there on the kit. Those muted chugs really change up the feel of this song, even though it's working very much with the same musical ideas, melodic ideas. Yeah, some harmony here. Bass still just turn it up. That drum fill was real clean. Oh, they just brought this back. Alright. I kind of figured we were going to go into a duet. But with something new. Bring it back halftime to make it feel larger. There was a single bass lick there at the end that really shone through. It was a nice little triplet, but it just had the fattest attack on it. So yeah, I'm not 100% sure that I view it as fitting the theme, but I can see how people would interpret it as that. It does move through quite a few sections, but I feel like a lot of the sections are extremely similar. It does sound like one or two ideas on the surface level. It's more of a minutia difference. You got to really get into the nitty gritty to differentiate some of these sections. But like I said, there are distinct sections. It does ignore the verse, chorus ideas. So, like I said, I can understand why it got picked for the theme and why it did so well in the poll. Also, it is just a fun song to listen to, right? I know a lot of the time on this channel, we tend to look at songs that are hyper complex or doing really interesting things, maybe unique ideas, really pushing the boundaries of music at times when we check out some more avant-garde stuff. And we really get into really more of the critical music stuff that someone who's critically listening is really going to love. But I mean, I'm also a casual listener. Sometimes I just really love a good jam. And that's kind of what I'm getting here. There are some really cool ideas in here that I really enjoyed. But for the most part, it does sort of sound like a pretty standard, 60s, 70s, 80s. I'm not sure when this it has. Anyways, it has a hair metal-esque feel to it. Maybe with a little bit of theatric flair. I don't know what genre that would be. But it sounds like what I kind of have this embodiment of 80s metal to sound like. There isn't really too much in here that sort of grinds against what I expected, given who the band is and when they came from. And, I think Maiden was one of those bands that really defined some of what metal became. So I'm sure that they get and deserve a lot of credit for creating some of these ideas that I attribute to this style of music. So I'm not trying to put them down by saying that they kind of fit within what I was expecting. There's definitely a chance that they created this idea that I attribute to this style of music. Um, but it works a lot with power chords. We have these very strong belting vocals. Um, beautiful, beautiful work all around. I don't want to discredit anything. Again, the vocals work are is just amazing. Like I said, so much raw power. He commands every line that he sings. There's this very wide, brilliant vibrato. Has a lot of power and strength behind it. I think it works well against what they do. They have these very strong power chords. They have these amazing guitar riffs. They have these phenomenal bass riffs. I don't know if that bass was as prominent in the original mix, but I'm glad it was in the mix that got picked for this. I don't care if this was the 2015 remaster. I don't care if this is the original. I don't care if this was like a 1997. I don't care what one. I'm just glad I got the one where the bass shone through. If it shone through on all of them, that's fine. I'm glad I got to hear it though because it was booking the entire time. Eighth notes, 16th notes. It didn't seem to really hold a note very long at all. Just constantly laying down a nice bass line that worked well and emphasized some of the drum stuff. They really worked together as a phenomenal rhythm section. Um, One thing that I've noticed a lot of metal does well is to synchronize the rhythmic elements of bass kicks and the bass guitar, and it really gives this nice punchy low end. And of course, these guys did it as well. It's a fantastic way to go about writing both the bass drum and the bass instrument. But I really like how they found a way to do that, to still have that punchy low end by synchronizing these two instruments while still giving the bass its own voice. It did play more and sort of emphasize the bass kick notes rather than only playing when the bass kick was hit. So I really enjoyed that angle. Um, yeah, like I said, the guitarist, the bass, the drummer, phenomenal. Everything about this band, they're virtuosos at their instruments for sure. And I would not put it past them that if they were born later, that they would be able to play as well as some of our modern greats as far as some of the newer techniques, and faster speeds and whatever that guitar players have pushed towards over time. However, y'all know me, I'm not 100% for showmanship in my instrument playing. And I love how they showed off a little bit. They had some speed in here, which they were extremely precise with. All their guitar runs were very clean. The guitar runs were clean. The bass work was clean. Um, but when they were doing their solos, it was this nice mix between having a little bit of that showmanship and really showing off their skills, and then just providing these beautiful legato segments in between. I really love that. Their guitar playing tells a fantastic story, and that's something I look forward to in instrumental work. I want to hear a story. Now, with that said, it wasn't all peaches and cream. That's kind of a weird one for me. I don't think I've said that before. It wasn't all great though. I love the solos, but the guitar duet that came before and after the solos. I think it was one section before the solo, and then immediately after the solos, after they traded off the solos, um, was just this one bar repetition, this one bar riff that got repeated several times, and I got a little bored of it the first time they did it, and I was not too enthralled when they brought it back after the solo. I wish they had taken that solo writing and either done some counterpoint or a harmonized duet solo. Write another solo section, put the other player a fifth or an octave above it or below it, and play that. Guitarist one takes the solo, guitarist two takes the solo, and then they do their duet together. I think that would have been so much better than bringing back a repeating one bar riff that we had already heard 8 times, 16 times maybe. Um, I'd say that that was the biggest, I don't want to say disappointment. The biggest letdown, though, I would say, is that after the solos, we just got that. I think it worked fine when we did it the first time. Like I said, I got a little bit tired of it near the end, but it was fine. Bringing it back, though, I think was just wasted potential 100%. But it doesn't do anything to diminish the song because we're talking about what, 4 bars, 8 bars tops out of a 6 minute song with so many great moments. It's just one of those little nitpicks where the song could have been even greater. And I'm sure there are some people who absolutely love that they had that little callback and really dig that riff and were glad that they got to hear more of it. This is just my opinion and my take on it. Um, so, yeah, I think that's really the only blemish that I had that I saw in the song. Everything else is just remarkable playing from top to bottom. Every instrument, everybody's just killing it. Um, and like I said, I just love that the bass line's there. Um, I don't know if there's any real like musical specifics that really stood out to me. I like some of the choir work, I think, that was going on. Maybe it was a synth in some of the sections that really widened out the sound, made it feel more epic. They did do this really cool thing in, it might have been the chorus. I think it was the only part I really remember being repeated, other than that one bar riff. But every 4 bars, we landed on a different beginning to the chord progression. Bars 2, 3, and 4, I think, were all the same, but bar 1 changed. And it made each 4 bar section have a completely different characteristic to it. Some of them are more majestic, some of them are more powerful. And I thought it was really interesting that they could change up so much of the feeling of a phrase just by changing where we start in the chord work. And it might not even have been the whole chord. It could have just been one note in the chord. It might have just been the note that the vocalist landed on when the chord came in, which would change the perception of the chord without changing the actual chordal work in whatever instrument was providing that in the floor. Because really, a chord is not something one instrument plays, it's what everybody plays at the same time. You can have your chordal instruments who play chords and provide sort of the foundation of what everybody else is doing, but if your piano plays 3 notes, like right here lined up, in, pretending that this is a staff and you got your 3 notes here, and then your vocalist plays here, you have a 4 note chord. You have 2 timbres providing it, but you have 4 notes being played at the same time. Um, so if whatever's providing the chord in the floor, whether that's a guitar or maybe a synth or whatever, they come in with a triad or something, a power chord triad, and then your vocalist is also holding a whole note as well, or even a half note, and he changes that. Maybe he brings it up a whole step or a half step every time we go through a new repetition. It's going to change how that chord feels, even though the chord itself, the instrument playing the chord, isn't changing what it's doing. Um, but yeah, that first bar had different characteristics to it every time. And it was really cool how it colored the rest of the experience of moving through the progression. And it gave it this epic feeling where, every repetition felt a little different and it brought a new characteristic, a new color to the palette. And then, I think epic is just kind of the word that goes here. It is some fairly normal metal. Like I said, it kind of fits my idea of what metal, my idea of metal of this era. But maybe it's the synths, maybe it's the power of his vocals, maybe it's just those little, choices to change starting notes here and there. The song feels epic without bringing in the stereotypical, strings and brass. It definitely has an epic feel to it, but it doesn't go over the top cheesy like power metal. And I say cheesy with a lot of reverence. I enjoy the cheese. I enjoy cheesy power metal. But this seems to get epic out of nuance rather than in your face epicness. So it's really interesting what they were able to pull together here, and just the small changes that ended up making it feel much larger and a little bit, I mean, a little bit different, even though they were utilizing a lot of the same techniques as other bands from the time. It gave them that little bit of edge, a little bit of change. And like I said, for all I know, they completely created the sound of their own. They were the first ones to do it. I don't know. I lack the context of when this came out. Um, but yeah, I'm impressed. Like I said, the only other song I've really heard from them is "Run to the Hills," and it's a good song. If I have a lot of, despite having a lot of negative emotions towards it, uh, it's a good song though. But it is also rather standard. There's not really anything larger than life in it. Um, but it has a lot of drive and power. But I mean, it's not anything unusual. This song has an extra oomph to it, an extra epicness. Um, and I'm not really sure where it specifically comes from. Like I said, I think it's a lot of tiny things just adding up, becoming much more than the sum of their parts. But that is my take on Iron Maiden's Infinite Dreams. This is where you guys come in. Now hit me up in the comments. Let me know if you enjoyed it or not. Anything that stuck out to you. Anything that might have bounced off of you. And when you're done commenting, you head up to the description box. There's a link in there for Linktree. Very nifty. One link takes you to everything. Twitter, Discord, Patreon. You just click that Linktree link and there's a nice menu asking you where you would like to go next. So much better than just a list of lengthy URLs in that description box. Also, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. All three things help out the channel immensely. I'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC, as usual, with more of these, short rhapsodies. And until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you choose to watch my videos.